What's up guys, it's Break Shift. I've got another fun deck to share with y'all. This deck is significantly less wacky than most of the stuff I usually like to show off on my channel, but I still think that it's a somewhat creative take on Trickstar. Thought I'd like to share it with y'all. I've been having some fun with it. This is not a burn deck. A lot of people I know just think Trickstar is all about burn, and that's definitely not the case. There's quite a bit of powerful effects that the deck has access to besides just deal 200. So before I talk about the new tech with this card, Dawn Angel Combi, let's quickly talk about what the basic line with the Trickstar cards is. So the key Trickstar monster is Candina. When this card is normal summoned, it has to be normal summoned, you get to add any Trickstar card from deck to hand. Very nice. We can mostly ignore all the burn effects, so I'm not going to be calling those out. So you want to normal summon Candina, of course, that's your starter. She can add any Trickstar card. We like to add Light Stage. This is their field spell. When this card is activated, you get to add a Trickstar monster from your deck to your hand. Not a once per turn effect, and the card itself you can activate any number per turn. So this is just a really, really great consistency booster that you can have in the deck, and it's got some other stuff that's relevant too. Once per turn, you can target a set card in your opponent's spell and trap zone. While this card is in the field zone, that set card cannot be activated until the end phase, and your opponent must activate it during the end phase, or else send it to the graveyard. So this is a great way to handle back row. If you're going second and the opponent has some set cards, this can be a nice option to either force them out early before they're at their most effective point, or essentially just ice them permanently. So like the new Sky Striker support just came out, right? This is a good thing to be using on like Widow Anchors and stuff like that. Random imperms, Called by the Grave, all that jazz. Super awesome card. So we add that off Candina, and then Light Stage itself gets to add a card. We want to add Hoodie. This card is a free special summon if you control a Trickstar Fusion or Link, and if it's sent to the graveyard as material for a Trickstar Link monster, you get to add either their Fusion Spell or their Fusion Trap. Trickstars have two different Link ones. This one can be made with any non-Link Trickstar, but you can only special summon it once per turn. This one requires level 2 or lower Trickstars, but you could summon it any number of times per turn. So when we add the Hoodie, we're going to link off our Candina for Colchica. That'll give us the ability to special summon Hoodie. Hoodie then will turn into the other Link one, and we'll search Trickstar Fusion. This is a pretty typical Fusion spell. Fusion summon a Trickstar using monsters from your hand or field. Nothing too crazy there. It has a bonus effect. You can banish it from the graveyard to add a Trickstar from graveyard to hand, but you can't summon it for the rest of the turn. So this is an okay effect for follow-up and recursion. When you do your normal line, when it's all said and done, you can finish off by using Trickstar Fusion to add Candina to the hand, and then threaten to basically do the whole thing again if you get another turn. So it's a handy little effect. So we'll fuse the two Link monsters we've got into Trickstar Band Dramatis. This can be made with any two Trickstars. It gives 1,000 attack to any Link Trickstars that point to it. And if it's Fusion Summoned, you get to add a Trickstar card from deck to hand with a different name from the cards you control in your graveyard. Not really a big deal, there's plenty of good stuff to still be searching. And then if effect damage is inflicted, you can target a face-up monster on the field and its attack becomes 0, that is permanent. So surprisingly decent effect. The Trickstar monsters aren't particularly large. 2,000 is getting close to the ceiling you can see on the attack points of these cards at base. So the attack manipulation, actually pretty nice. So we're just searching cards and search cards and search cards. Dramatis is going to add another extender. Usually the best one is this little girl here, Trickstar Aqua Angel. This card is hilarious. Link monsters appointed to this card can't be destroyed by battle. Whatever, who cares? You can only use each of the following effects once per duel. Harsh restriction. But it's worth it, because if you control a Trickstar or Marincis, you can special it from hand or grave, completely free, very nice. And if it's sent to the graveyard as Link material, you get to look at all cards in your opponent's hand and all set cards they control. This effect is really, really strong. It is hard to overstate how powerful it is in a control or mid-range oriented deck to know exactly what's in your opponent's hand. Being able to spend your interruptions as efficiently as possible is massive. So the main combo line getting you access to this, so you can just see all of their cards, enormous. We're using the Aqua Angel and the Dramatis as link material, and that's going to get us into Trickstar Noble Angel. When this card's link summoned, you get to add a blue Tears cards, more on that in a second. If you have a fusion in your field or graveyard, you can target a Trickstar in the grave, special summon it. So most of the time we'll use this effect to immediately revive the Dramatis. The searching effect of Dramatis is only on fusion summon, so we won't be getting extra searches or anything, but she'll boost the Noble Angel up to 3,000, and she'll also have that attack manipulation effect for the opponent's turn, so pretty nice. And if effect damage is inflicted, you can target a face-up card on the field, destroy it. Pretty handy. You get to use that alongside the Dramatis effect. When you deal burn damage, you're popping a card and you're dropping a monster's attack. Note as well, of course, we're only playing the one fusion spell, but it's fine because if we need to like do the combo again to rebuild a board, the fact that the fusion will be in the graveyard means that Noble Angel can just always be reviving it back. I have two of them here. You can't even summon two in this build. There's plenty of space in the after deck. It doesn't matter. Now, let's see, where was I? The Blue Tears cards. There's two Blue Tears cards. One of them is a spell, it sucks. The other one is this trap, it's actually pretty good. If your opponent special summons a monster and you control a link, target it, destroy it, inflict damage to your opponent equal to half its original attack. So this is just a nice little removal effect, and then of course, since it deals burn damage, that's going to trigger the pop effect on your Noble Angel, and it's also going to trigger the attack reduction on your Dramatis. It has this other effect here where it can set a normal spell from the graveyard or banishment, but that's not really very relevant at all. You can pretty much just ignore that. I've literally never had that effect come up ever while playing Trickstar. So that's the core Trickstar combo. All you need is either Light Stage or Candina, and you're ending on a 3,000 attack Noble Angel, you're ending on Dramatis, and you've got the Maiden of Blue Tears. So that's not like a top tier board by any stretch, but for just committing a single card in your normal summon, it's a pretty decent amount of disruption. It's a really nice low to the ground kind of combo, and it's got that nice aspect of it where at any point if they interrupt, pretty much any extender lets you continue, right? So if you've just drawn an Aqua Angel, you can keep going. If you need to, you can use the field spell to search Lilybell. Lilybell's like a poplar. If she's added to your hand, you can special summon her. We've got this card, Trickstar Korobane. If you control no monsters or they're all Trickstars, you can special summon it. So lots of little extenders here. That's also why we're playing 2 Hoodie. It's kind of decent to just draw. And if you lose access to the fusion spell, like if they Imperm or Ash the Hoodie specifically, that's actually a bit of a problem, because the only other way that we can add Trickstar Fusion is with Light Stage, or not Light Stage, sorry, is with Candina. And normally we're starting with Candina. You're not going to go Candina add Fusion for the most part. So you could maybe even play 3 Hoodie, but I think 2 works out a little better. So that's the core Trickstar package. We've got a few other cards though, and we're mostly trying to use those in conjunction with this new card, Dawn Angel Camby. I really liked this Trickstar package from back when the support Dramatis and some of the other cards came out, but I felt like I wanted to have just like a little bit more extension and an additional way to start plays. And Dawn Angel Camby is both of those things, and it's really good at both of those things. This card is very, very powerful. It does a lot of other funny things too that wouldn't be relevant to this Trickstar deck. Let's give it a quick read. If you control no monsters or all monsters you control are fairy, you can special summon this card from your hand. Okay, nice, free summon. You contribute any number of fairies, including this card. Special summon a fairy from your deck whose level equals the total levels of those monsters on the field. Can't special summon the turn you activate this except fairies. This is a retroactive lock. So you can't summon other things that aren't fairies and then use this card later. Only fairies for the whole turn if you want to use this effect. And it's hard once per turn. So it's a pretty strict lock that it applies, but I think it's justified because the number of things that you can do with this card is very, very high. Now in Trickstars specifically, so of course, I guess I should specify that you're primarily just trying to tribute only this card, right? You don't want to minus yourself and tribute multiple fairies. So we want to be tributing just itself to get a level 1 fairy, kind of like a fairy Lone Fire Blossom. And in Trickstar, we've got a pretty decent target. It's Trickstar Nightshade. If this card is sent to the graveyard as link material for the link summon of a Trickstar, you can special summon it, or banish it when it leaves the field. Not too shabby. It's a nice little 2-for-1 bodies. You just summon the Camby, you tribute it off for Nightshade. Nightshade goes into one of the link 1s. It brings itself back. You can make another link 1, or you can make a link 2, or whatever you feel like. Oh, and I guess I didn't mention this earlier, but Kolchika also has a relevant effect too. If a monster is destroyed by a battle involving your Trickstar monster while this is in the graveyard, you can banish it, target the destroyed monster, inflict damage equal to that monster's attack. So this is another way to trigger the burn damage condition. So not too shabby, can close out games, and oh, there was one other thing I wanted to say about this card. Whatever, it'll come to me. Now, so the Nightshade is a pretty decent little way to extend with Trickstars because they're all fairy types. So we can always summon them. We can always summon the Dawn Angel Camby if we've just got Trickstar monsters on the board. Oh, right, this is the other thing I was going to say. Trickstar Corbane. This also has like a hand trap, like Honest style effect. During the damage step when your Trickstar battles an opponent's monster, you can send this card from hand to grave. You gain attack equal to your original attack. So that's a way to boost stuff up and then also trigger the Kolchika effect. Right, so anyway, that's what we can do with Dawn Angel Camby with just Trickstars, but there's a lot more application for this card. We can summon any fairy monster. I think probably the most interesting thing to summon is a card from one of the worst archetypes in all of Yu-Gi-Oh!, and that is the Valkyrie archetype. We got this card right here, Valkyrie Sext. If this card is special summoned, you can special summon a Valkyrie monster from your deck, except Valkyrie Sext. During the main phase, you can mill your opponent for 2. I don't know why you would ever want to do that. Don't do that. You're probably just going to help them. You could say, like, oh, well, you can maybe scout their deck and see what they're on, but Aqua Angel is going to do that for us anyway. So we're going to summon this out off Camby. Her effect is going to trigger. She'll summon any Valkyrie from deck. What are we grabbing? We're grabbing Valkyrie Funft. This card is really interesting because it can, if you control another Valkyrie, send any spell or trap from your deck to the graveyard. It's just Foolish Burial Goods. That's a really strong effect. Of course, you are fairy locking yourself if you're doing this with Dawn Angel Camby, but I mean, wow, there's so much potential with just having a Foolish Burial Goods like this. So what do we want to send? Well, within Trickstar itself, we've got the infamous Trickstar Reincarnation. You can banish this from the graveyard to reborn a Trickstar monster. You can also search this card, of course, with like Dramatis or Candina, since they get to add any Trickstar card, and it's an okay-ish disruption. Normally people are using this either to do the Droll loop, which is kind of cringe, if you ask me. If you're not familiar with it, the idea is that you can, the main effect of this card, banish your opponent's entire hand, then if you do, they draw the same number of cards. You can also use that in conjunction with Droll and Lockbird. So you chain the 2 cards together after they've added a card. So Droll says they won't be able to add cards from the main deck to the hand, but the effect of Reincarnation will still apply afterwards, so it'll banish their hand and then they just don't draw anything. It's pretty dumb. I don't personally enjoy that interaction. I'm just on Droll because I felt like I kind of needed to for reasons relating just to where the meta's at right now and stuff. In terms of going second, I don't like this card, but I feel like my hand has been forced currently. But anyway, people are normally using that with it, but you don't have to do that. You can also just use it as a sort of weird anti-search card, right? They add something important, you banish their hand, and then they don't have access to that important card anymore, probably. Maybe they drew into a new copy of it, but they probably didn't. It's also kind of nice with Aqua Angel, since you're getting to look at their whole hand. you can, like, maybe they just have a crazy hand, right? Maybe they're playing some kind of going second deck and they just have like a bunch of breakers that are going to immediately own you. If you pass turn back to them, you can just reincarnation them during the standby phase or something. So yeah, that's like an okay card to search sometimes, but being able to have it available as an extender is pretty cool by sending it with the Funft. But what I think is probably even better to send most of the time is this guy, Rainbow Bridge of Salvation. You've probably seen this card around before. It's got a bunch of text on it. The only thing we care about is you can banish this card from your grave, add a Crystal Beast and a Field Spell from your deck to your hand. That gets us Trickstar Light Stage. Remember, this card is not once per turn, and it is a 1-card combo. It also deals with the back row, so really, really, really good card to be able to add off the Rainbow Bridge of Salvation. And as for the Crystal Beast we're adding, well, we're going to add Ruby Carbuncle because it's a fairy. That is relevant because we've also got these 2 Valkyrie monsters just hanging out on the field. What are we going to do with them? Well, why not link them off into Herald of Mirage Lights? You can make this with 2 monsters of the same type and attribute. The Valkyries are both light fairies. So we get to make this guy. He says, when a spell, trap, or effect is activated, quick effect, send a fairy from your hand to the graveyard, negate it, and destroy it. So we get to layer this guy in as part of our end board. If the opponent tries to like imperm us or something while we're setting up, he can stop them there. And of course, if we just pass back to them, then it's just a negate that we get to stick onto the board. He's kind of small at 600, so maybe they can get over him, but don't forget we can manipulate their attack with Dramatis. And also, if they're giving up their battle phase, that's often a good thing for a deck like this that has more of a plan for a longer-term kind of grindy game, since our main combo recycles itself for us. And because we do have this way to deal some incremental damage with the burn effects and stuff, if they give us multiple turns, it's usually better for us than it is for them. So it's okay if they're just going to go to the battle phase to clear Herald of Mirage Lights, and if they're not doing that, you've just got a free negate in addition to a search for your 1-card starter. That's pretty good. There are some other potentially very funny things you can do with Dawn Angel Combi outside of a deck like this. So, for example, one thing that I think is pretty interesting is after you've summoned Sext for Funft, you can send Transaction Rollback with Funft, and then you can link both of them off for this guy, the Protector of the Agent's Moon. He can send a Sanctuary in the Sky or a card that mentions it from deck to graveyard, and there is a pretty funny card that mentions Sanctuary in the Sky that is a normal trap, which is this, Light of Judgment. If Sanctuary in the Sky is on the field, discard a light monster to the graveyard, apply one of the following effects. Look at your opponent's hand and discard a card from their hand. That sounds kind of degenerate, huh? If you're playing any sort of deck that can search Sanctuary in the Sky or just runs multiple copies of it and stuff, you could potentially just be getting a free hand rip if you just drew Dawn Angel Combi. That's pretty funny. Note that you do still have to meet that condition of Sanctuary on the Sky being on the field. You can't just roll back it without the Sanctuary in the Sky. That would be crazy. This is definitely a meme. I don't think it's particularly good, but it is funny. Another thing that you can do is you can link the Valkyries off into Condemned Dark Lord. Condemned Dark Lord says that you can discard a card, take a Dark Lord monster from your deck, add it to your hand, or send it to the graveyard. So this searches Dark Lord Nurse Reficule, who is a fairy. And don't forget that you have not normal summoned yet with the Cambi. So you can just normal summon the Dark Lord Nurse and start doing your cheesy burn stuff. And don't forget as well, you've also gotten the Foolish Burial Goods, so you can have just sent off a transaction rollback to use to get some extra burn. Nurse burn is super uninteresting, so I'm definitely not going to be showing any nurse burn on the channel, but it's kind of a funny idea. It's just sort of showing you some of the potential that this card has. There's another new card that came out in the pack here, Vingolf's Blessing, that is a spell you might want to send to the graveyard. If it's sent to the graveyard, target a level 4 or lower fairy, special summon it. So you could just use that to get an extra material out. You could have 3 material on the board instead of just 2. Since you are fairy locked, there's not really much that is worth doing with those 3 materials at that point. I couldn't come up with anything particularly interesting. The fairy lock is pretty harsh. There's not a lot of good fairy stuff in the extra deck that's generic in any sense. It's all like the Trickstar stuff all requires Trickstars specifically, right? There's like weather painters; those all require weather painters specifically. This is like the only remotely decent generic fairy link, is this Herald of Mirage Lights. But yeah, anyway, that's just Dawn Angel Cambi in general. This card is really, really interesting. So if you're someone else who likes to cook interesting decks like me, definitely look into this card. Maybe think about some of those interactions with the Valkyrie stuff. But getting back to this deck itself, we're also playing regular old Foolish Burial Goods because, you know, we've got all these great targets. And we're playing 1-for-1 as well. 1-for-1's nice because it is a sort of a toolbox kind of card here. It works. It can either get you Dawn Angel Cambi, or if you either already have her or you don't need her, you could potentially go into either Nightshade or Sext just immediately instead of going by way of Cambi. That doesn't fairy lock you, interestingly, but it is a one-of, so not really something you could build around all that much. The fact that you have to send a monster from hand to graveyard to use it can also be mitigated by the fact that Aqua Angel can summon herself from the graveyard. Our normal combo just summons her from hand, but she is free discard fodder for the 1-for-1. Everything else in the deck is just, you know, classic staple stuff. I ran out of hand traps after the 3 Valor, the 3 Imperm, and the 3 Ash. I ran out of hand traps that I felt like really made a ton of sense. You could probably play, I think you could get away with one of the Dominus cards, right? Because pretty much the whole deck is lights, right? Almost everything is a light, all the Trickstars, but we do have some stuff mixing it up. Aqua Angel is water because she's crossover support with Marincess. So I went with Droll. I feel kind of bad about it. I really don't like the games that this card creates most of the time, but it's undeniably very powerful right now, and this deck is kind of on the weaker side, so we do need a bit of help here and there. And, well, you know, while the Droll reincarnation thing is pretty cringe when you're, like, really trying to aim for it, maybe if it just shows up once every so often randomly, it's kind of funny. I don't know. But that's the deck we've got here. Let's go ahead and check out the replays I have to show y'all. So let's start here. This is just going to show off a pretty basic turn 1 setup using the Dawn Angel Cambi. So I won the coin toss here. Obviously, I chose to go first. And this is a really, really great hand. So another good thing about using weird cards like this is that people aren't familiar with it. They don't know what to expect. So he doesn't interact with the Dawn Angel Cambi, even though it's a really, really powerful card here. He doesn't know what it does. So we dump the Rainbow Bridge. I'm going to go ahead and link off into the Herald of Mirage Lights. This card's art is so funny, man. He's doing the had to do it to him hands. Anyway, we'll add our Ruby Carbuncle. We'll add our Light Stage. Light Stage for Lilybell here. I'm still just kind of trying to see. It kept toggling back to him. I'm trying to see if he would bite on anything. But he doesn't, so we'll just go ahead and normal summon the Candino. We don't need the search here, so I just grabbed Reincarnation. Fuse into the Dramatis. One thing to note about if you're starting with Dawn Angel Cambi, we get to use the Herald of Mirage Lights here to stop the Imperm. But yeah, if you're starting with Dawn Angel Cambi and you just go into the Mirage Lights right away, he ends up in the extra monster zone. So the Trickstar links are not going to point to Dramatis. They're not going to gain that 1,000 attack, which could matter some of the time. Here we get to do that 1-for-1 thing I was talking about. You can instead just make the other Trickstar links before you go into the Herald of Mirage Lights, but then you don't have that Imperm insurance, so I think it's probably better to make him first. I'm going to bring back the Nightshade here. Link it off with Aqua Angel. Bust out the Noble Angel. This will get us a look at the opponent's hand. It also chain blocks the Noble Angel, which is pretty nice. We take a peek. His hand is absolute garbage. The replay gives you, like, no time to see it. And annoyingly, it won't show up in the log. See, like, it doesn't show me what his hand was. So if you're playing the deck with Aqua Angel, and you care about it, you should probably have like Notepad open on the side or something and write down the cards that were in their hand, because you will forget, I promise. We make Holly Angel here as well, just because we had enough extra material. She's not super important. She just like gains extra attack. Most of the Trickstar links in the extra deck, I don't even talk about them. They're just so irrelevant. You're not going into them. There's so much space in this extra deck. This was the card he top decked. This was the only one I didn't see with a Fleur-de-Lis here. So I know he doesn't really have any other plays after this. So once he summons the Fleur-de-Lis, I can just pop it with the blue tears. And that's going to trigger my Noble Angel effect. I get to pop another card, so we'll just take out the Branded Regained, and that's it. Yeah, Holly Angel, you'll see her in another one of the replays. She has some niche applications. The only other extra deck monster that's even remotely relevant is the big lady here, Bella Madonna. This is like sometimes the game ender. On a turn 3 kind of situation where you went first is you can summon her. If she points to no monster, she's unaffected by their card's effects. It's not too hard to set that up. If she's in the EMZ, of course, she might not be pointing at anything, but you can also have her set up such that she's like on the far right side of the field. And there's a monster in the right-hand EMZ that points down to her, so that zone is available, but she doesn't point back to it. If it points to no monsters, you can inflict 200 damage to opponent for each Trickstar monster in the graveyard with a different name. In a turn 3 situation, this is a pretty decent amount of burn, and then it will trigger the effects of your Noble Angel and your Dramatis. So, yeah, but you really don't go into these cards very often, and the game's already over by that point anyway, most of the time. Otherwise, it's just stuff you can make with your free bodies. You're going to end up with a lot of bodies if you successfully pull off the Camby combo. And if you don't get to actually do the Camby thing, that's fine too, usually, because you can start with it, it'll bait out the disruptions, and then you can just push through your normal combo. So here, for example, I drew the Funft. It is a hard Garnet. I can't really do much of anything with it. But this opponent, he does respect the Camby. He's going to Ash it. I'm A-okay with that. All it was going to do is get me the level 1 Trickstar. I would much rather have that get ashed than my Candina get ashed, because this just is full combo. And yeah, sure enough, he doesn't have like an Imperm or anything, so there you go. I get to do the whole combo. You'll get to see the normal version this time, since I just opened with the fusion spell last time. I didn't go through Hoodie. But this is normally what you want to do, like I was talking about earlier. You special out the Hoodie, you link the Hoodie off. Get both of the Link 1s out. It's so crazy to me this deck has 2 Link 1s, man. How many decks out there have 2 Link 1s? I don't know if there's any other ones besides, like, Appliancer, right? Like, there's some really bad ones. I guess Valmonica has a couple of Link 1s, huh? And Sky Striker, of course. But it's a pretty small list. Anyway, we'll add the Aqua Angel here. I go ahead and use the Diffusion to add back Candina at this point. It doesn't really matter when you do that, but he's got a Bestial Magnemite in hand. So we are going to lose access to that Candina follow-up, which is maybe a little bit annoying. We'll have to see. Summon out the Aqua Angel. We can go ahead and link off into our Noble Angel here. Noble Angel going to guess the trap, of course. And the opponent's already used 2 hand traps. We get to take a look at his hand. We see these on Malice. He had GWC, I think. He had Signet Mining and Wizard Adagnistra, I think was the last card. He's going to add Baldrake here. We've got our full setup here, plus the Imperm, plus a Veiler in hand. And he top decks Circular. That's a pretty damn good top deck. So he's kind of going to force my hand here. You can't let these things resolve. So we'll pop the Sigma. We'll Veiler the Circular. And then when the chain resolves, he'll take burn damage, which will trigger both of our Trickstar monsters on the field here. Sigma gets banished. Noble Angel is going to pop Circular, and Dramatis is going to shrink the Magnemite, which is pretty relevant, because otherwise he could have just like walked over the Dramatis. But he makes a bit of a boneheaded play here, and he plays right into the Imperm column. Might have had a chance if he hadn't done that, but shoulda, woulda, coulda, right? So the Signet Mining gets negated. I know the rest of his hand, it's nothing. He can't do anything else here, so he's just going to scoop it up. And that was a pretty typical sort of turn 1 setup. You can see it's reasonably effective. We played through some hand traps. We stopped a lot of his plays. He even top decked a Circular, and we were still okay. And I'll show you one more replay here. Trickstar, somewhat notoriously back in the day when it was meta-relevant, had a tough time actually killing. People would mix it with all kinds of stuff like Mech Knights, to try and get more damage. Before the new support came out, I was playing like Horus and stuff to try and get extra damage. But you don't super need supplemental engines to put up big damage at this point. Nor do you need to lean fully into some kind of cheesy burn build. So that's what this replay is going to do, because as for what goes on with my opponent here, I just kind of droll him and he just can't really play. That's why I don't like this card. It's just, it doesn't lead to fun games, right? Like, even when it's winning me a game, it's not really a fun game. But regardless, that's not really the point here. We're just kind of showing how can the deck OTK. So his board here is absolutely pathetic. It's just SP Little Knight and a Red MD. But still, that's 8,000 plus another 44 in attack points on the board. You might not think that Trickstars would be able to deal that much damage in a non-burn focused build, but we absolutely can. I am playing the SP Little Knight. He's got Max C. Doesn't matter. I have Crossout. Thank you, Konami, for banning the other copy of my Called by the Grave, but not touching Max C. Very cool. But we're just the better duelists sometimes, and we've drawn the Crossout Designator anyway. We can go ahead and summon out Camby. Go into Nightshade. We'll link off. We'll get back to Nightshade. Colchica going to be available to provide a little bit of extra damage with her Graveyard effect. We can activate Light Stage for Candina. Haven't normal summoned yet. Candina for Hoodie. Get the free special there. Go ahead and link off. And you can see that this is a pretty similar play to the typical turn 1 setup. I'll speed things up a little bit here. You want to fuse off with the Link monsters there. You want to make sure Colchica ends up in the graveyard, of course. We'll add the Aqua Angel, special her. Noble Angel, going to search the trap. Not that we'll need it, of course, but might as well. Link off for Holly Angel. And then we get to bring back Dramatis. So Holly Angel's actual effect is if a Trickstar monster is normal or special summoned to a zone it points to, she burns for 200. But besides that, she also gains attack anytime the opponent takes effect damage. So we'll burn here with the Colchica. Holly Angel's going to get really big, 4,800. And look at that, re-OTK'd. Not too shabby. Obviously, if they had like actual interruptions, it might have been difficult to get the kill, but just in terms of the actual raw numerical damage output of the deck, it's really not that bad. So that's the Trickstar deck. Hope you guys liked it. Feel free to try it out on ladder. Let me know how it went for you guys, if you had fun with it, how well it did. And yeah, maybe think about brewing with this card if you like to build decks. This thing's crazy, I promise you. It's got all sorts of interesting potential. So anyway, until next time, thanks for watching, and I will catch y'all later. Peace.